Marcus. Marcus wasn't a bad guy in the mustache twirling sense. He was worse. He was a grind set addict. To Marcus, if you weren't thinking about Q3 projections while brushing your teeth, you weren't aligned with the vision. I remember the first time it happened. It was a Tuesday around 11:30 p.m. I was halfway to sleep when my phone chimed. Ping! Hey, just a thought on the slide deck formatting. I ignored it, but the next morning at the 8 a.m. stand-up, Marcus looked at me with this smug, expectant squint. So, did you see my note on the slides? I figured you'd have a draft ready by now. I felt the blood rush to my face. I hadn't even had coffee. That was the trap. There was no official rule saying I had to work at midnight, but there was an unspoken expectation that I was always on. If I didn't reply, I was behind. If I did reply, I was dedicated. The breaking point. The physical toll started to add up. I stopped leaving my phone in the other room. I'd be at dinner with my partner and I'd see the light flash. My heart rate would spike. Adrenaline would hit my system at 10 p.m. on a Sunday because Marcus had a random idea about the client's logo. I was exhausted. I was bitter. My skin felt tight. My eyes were perpetually bloodshot, and I found myself snapping at people I loved because I was constantly waiting for the next digital whip crack from my pocket. The climax of my frustration came on a Saturday morning, 6 a.m., a Saturday. Ping! Hey, can you pull the last 3 months of engagement data? Need it for a call on Monday. I sat up in bed, my hands shaking. I looked at the rain hitting the window and realized Marcus didn't want the data. Marcus wanted to feel powerful. He wanted to know that even on my day off, he could pull my string and I'd dance. That morning, something clicked. A cold, calm clarity. I realized I couldn't fight Marcus with HR. He wasn't technically breaking laws, just being a jerk. I couldn't fight him with words. He'd just call me unmotivated. So I decided to fight him with time. I sat down at my desk that Saturday and drafted the response immediately. It took me 10 minutes, but I didn't hit send. I set a reminder on my phone for the following Saturday at exactly 6 a.m. I call it the mirror policy. The rules were simple. Every email Marcus sent outside of business hours would be answered. The answer would be thorough, professional, and perfect. The answer would be sent exactly 24 hours and 0 minutes after he sent his. If Marcus sent an email at 11:47 p.m. on a Monday, my reply would land in his inbox at 11:47 p.m. on Tuesday. Not 11:45, not midnight, 11:47. The psychological war. The first week was the hardest. Marcus sent a flurry of late-night messages. On Tuesday at midnight, he asked about the Q3 projections. I saw it. I drafted the reply. I went to sleep. Wednesday morning at the stand-up, Marcus was ready. Any update on those projections I sent over last night? I looked him dead in the eye, perfectly calm. I'm working on it, Marcus. You'll have a full breakdown soon. He looked annoyed. He liked the instant gratification. That night at 11:47 p.m., while I was tucked in bed reading a book, my computer, pre-programmed, fired off the email. Whoosh! Sent. The next morning, Marcus looked confused. I saw your email come through late last night, he said, scratching his head. You were up working? I just smiled. I just wanted to make sure you got the data you needed at the time you seemed most focused on it. I saw the first flicker of doubt in his eyes. He didn't know if I was a workaholic like him or if something was off. Marcus started trying to outrun me. He started sending emails earlier, 10 p.m., then 9 p.m., hoping, I think, to catch me and get a same-day response. But the 24-hour rule was absolute. 9 p.m. Tuesday email, 9 p.m. Wednesday reply. 2 a.m. Friday email, 2 a.m. Saturday reply. I became a ghost in his machine. For 4 months, his inbox became a mirror of his own toxic habits. If he chose to work at a time that disrupted my life, I ensured his phone chimed at that exact same disruptive time the very next day. I remember one specific Tuesday. I was out at a concert. I saw a notification from Marcus at 8:15 p.m. Urgent, need the deck for tomorrow's 9 a.m. Usually, I would have panicked. I would have left the concert. Instead, I felt a surge of joy. I knew I had the deck finished already. I scheduled the reply for 8:15 p.m. Wednesday. The 9 a.m. meeting came. Marcus was frantic. "Where's the deck?" "Oh," I said, sounding surprised. "I'm still finalizing the notes based on the timing of your request. It'll be ready for the follow-up." He couldn't complain. I was working the same hours he was. The shift happened slowly, then all at once. It had been 4 months. I was sitting in my office on a Friday afternoon when I realized my phone hadn't buzzed after 6 p.m. in over 2 weeks. I checked my sent folder. Marcus had stopped. The grind-set king had been humbled by his own reflection. He realized that every time he sent a late-night email, he was essentially scheduling a late-night interruption for himself the following night. He had conditioned himself like a Pavlovian dog to fear his own notification sound. The final victory came during our quarterly review. Marcus looked tired, truly tired, whereas I felt like a new person. He leaned back and said, "You know, I've realized that maybe we don't need to be so frantic after hours. I've been trying to get my emails out before noon lately. It seems more efficient." I nodded solemnly. "I think that's a great professional pivot, Marcus. Very mature." Inside, I was screaming with laughter. I had trained my manager. I had reclaimed my sleep, my sanity, and my weekends, and I did it all by simply being the most punctual person he'd ever met. At the end of the day, people will treat you exactly the way you allow them to. Marcus thought he was the one in control, but by setting a firm, silent boundary, I forced him to change his behavior without a single argument. Sometimes the best way to handle a toxic boss isn't to quit, it's to give them exactly what they're asking for until they realize they never wanted it in the first place. If this story gave you that warm glow of justice, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Now I want to hear from you. What's the most creative way you've ever handled a boss who wouldn't respect your time? Drop your stories in the comments below. I read every single one of them. See you in the next story.